Hi everyone, I'm Aaron, and in this video we're going to be looking at how we can integrate Blockify with WordPress. So there's a couple of techniques in here that you're going to be able to use with Joomla, Expression Engine, or any other CMS that you're using. You realize a lot of the techniques are the same when we're dealing with data as if you were dealing with a PDO object or something from MySQLi. So firstly, we're just going to take a look here, and I've got my default page that we were using in the last tutorial. The first thing that I've done here is I've changed the name. Let me just maximize this for you. I've changed the name, the location of Blockify URL to point to my theme folder, and if we take a look here, we can see that I'm in folder Blockify. Now I'm in the classic WP content themes. I've got a theme called Blockify, and in that folder I've got my Blockify installation here and another folder called Blockify. I've got index.php, which we're looking at here. I've got an empty functions.php and style.css to make it a valid theme. So the first thing that I'm going to do, just to make it cleaner for everyone, is I'm going to chop out this PHP here and I'm going to put it in my functions.php down here. So that just takes those constants and also loads Blockify into the functions folder, which means, as we can see, it doesn't affect anything. It does affect something here. Why? Because I haven't saved index.php. So if I go back now, there, doesn't affect anything. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chop out all of this stuff here that I've got in the header and all of the stuff down there that I've got in the footer, and I'm going to put that, starting with the footer, I'm going to make a new file called footer.php. I'm going to whack that in there, get rid of that line, save that out, save that. Check that my footer's still there. My footer is still there, so that's fantastic. And then I'm going to do the same with the header. Make a new file, header.php. Paste that in there. Now I've got my header.php and my footer.php. I'm going to call that using the Wordpress functions get header and get footer. As we can see, nothing has changed down here. So we also need to, in our header and footer, use the WordPress functions WP head and WP footer. This is how WordPress pulls in all its necessary CSS and JavaScript, so on and so forth. So if we open header.php, one of the cool things about Blockify is that when you're within a WordPress environment, it no longer requires you to use Blockify CSS and Blockify JS. It'll actually hook into the WordPress functions WP header and WP footer. So as I call this, WP head function, and reload this, and in fact let me just do that in the footer as well. I'll take out this Blockify JS and replace that with WP footer. So we're loading the WordPress resources, but as we can see, because we've still got our styles, we're also loading our block resources, so our block styles. So that's quite a nice handy little thing there. So let's talk about content. When we're normally in WordPress, I'm sure you're used to doing something like this. If have posts while have posts, the post, the content, you know, the title, these sorts of things. It's just and while and if. So this is quite a standard thing in WordPress for grabbing the next post or the current post, displaying, as we can see here, the title and the content. If I reload this, it's gonna loop through all these dummy posts that I've got in there at the moment. If we wanted to get these into a block, because blocks accept data in arrays, we're going to use functions such as get the content and get the title. So let's take, well, in fact we can probably look through all of these, and let's put them in a block article-single. So as we remember, the first argument of a block is the name of the block. The second argument is the array of data. So if we wanted to get this into article single, we'd pass get the title as the name. So we do name get the title. And we would also pass the content. That would be, what would that be? That would be the text. I think that's what the key is. Or article body. Let's just check that out. Yes, the text indeed. And so what's nice about this, if I bring up the developer tools, first off, as you can see, we've got it nicely centered now, because it's automatically pulled through with the bootstrap markup. So we've got containers and things like that. We can see that our markup here, we've got, not only have we got the article, we've got a nice class for that article. We've got the schema item type here, and within this we've got all the nicely marked up schema for our posts. And we've even got a word count down here for the amount of words there. So Google and other search engines are really gonna like that. If we wanted to add a URL, we could probably use a block that I in fact made this afternoon. I haven't published it to the registry yet. Let's just see if we can download it here. So if I cd Blockify and I do Blockify install, neat little trick with the Blockify block manager, just like Bower, you can either pass it the name of something that's been pushed to the registry, or you can actually just pass it a GitHub username and repository. So I'm going to do that. Face online article dash short. So this is a block that I was working on earlier. Sorry, I need to node version manager use 0.10. Now using 0.10. I've got node installed via node version manager. So if I run this again, now this will install. So what article short does is that it takes an article single and it also wraps it with a couple of extra things so that we can include permalinks, so a little bit of a work in progress at the moment. We can see the formatting's changed there slightly. So if I wanted to, say, have a URL like a read more link or something like that, I can pass it the URL, get the permalink, and then that's just going to give me the naked URL for my post. Oh, there we have it. I did actually make it to say read more by default. So if we just look and see here, so this is a permalink for the first post. If we inspect the element on this one, that should be the permalink for the second post, so on and so forth. So that's just like a nice little helper thing if you wanted to display a list of blog posts. So that's a basic, really basic integration with WordPress. So you can see how you can start pulling and using blocks to get content into your website. I'm gonna, in a later video, go through things like menus, widgets, and go over some of the helper functions that we've got that just ease the process of working with those in blocks. Thanks for watching.